everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Alex and today I am bringing you my mid-June wrap-up. Now, the month of June has been a little bit crazy, both with what's been going on in the world and then I've had some personal stuff going on in my life as well that has really taken me away from reading. I feel like a lot of people have really been in a reading slump throughout the month of June so far, which is totally understandable. I have also felt the effects of that, but I have managed to complete 7 books so far in the month of June. But before we get into the video, if you are new here and you're not already, please be sure to go down and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell icon down below so that you never miss out on any of my content. And without further ado, let's get started. So the first book that I completed in the month of June was The Young Elites by Marie Lu. The Young Elites follows our main character Adelina, and she is a survivor of the blood fever. So a decade ago, this illness came through their village and Adelina got the blood fever and she survived, but it did cause her to lose her left eye. Her father believes that she is an abomination, but Adelina has heard of other survivors of the blood fever that actually came out of it with some special powers, and these people are called the Young Elites. We also follow a couple of other characters, like we follow the leader of the Young Elites and one of the king's men that is sent to find the group and destroy them. Now, I listened to this book on audio, which I think was my mistake in going into this one because I, to this day, don't remember anything about it. I've read it a little bit less than 2 weeks ago at this point. I barely remember anything about the plot. So I feel like if I would have read this one physically or even on a device where I can see the words, it would have stuck in my head a little bit better. But as where I sit right now, I really don't have any feelings about it one way or the other because I just don't remember a lot of what happened. Even while I was reading it and listening to it, I was thinking, what's happening? Why am I listening to this still? But I got through it, so I did complete it. I may eventually go back and reread this one in a print format, but where it stands right now, I don't really care that much about the story. I'll end up giving this one a 3 out of 5 stars, really just middle of the road for me, incredibly forgettable. The next book that I read in June was an e-arc that I received through NetGalley, so thank you to NetGalley, the author and the publisher, for sending me a copy of How the Penguin Saved Veronica by Hazel Pryor. This book is going to be coming out today, the day that you're watching this, June 16th. So this book follows our main character, Veronica, and Veronica is 85 years old. She is estranged from her family. She has no family that she knows of, and she is trying to find a worthy cause to donate her fortune to when she passes away. And she sees this documentary on penguins in Antarctica. There's a group of scientists that are tracking these specific penguins, trying to learn more about them and save them from their endangered status, and Veronica falls in love, decides that this is where she wants her money to go to. But before she is willing to put this cause in her will, she wants to go down to Antarctica and meet these penguins for herself. The scientists pretty much tell her that that's impossible, but she is not going to take no for an answer, and she goes on this crazy wild ride down to Antarctica. We also get to follow Veronica as she discovers that she has a grandson named Patrick, and they start to try to form a relationship. Now, I think one of the main strengths of this book is Veronica herself. She is a stubborn character. She is a go-getter. She's not going to let anybody stand in her way. She's very much a beloved curmudgeon. So if you think of a band called Uwe and you really liked that, this might be one to look into as well. I can definitely understand how Veronica would be a polarizing character, but for me, the book itself is so light and fluffy that you can just kind of brush it off, and it's more funny than annoying. So I really enjoyed her character, and I feel like she had a lot of nice character development throughout the novel. I really enjoyed the setting. I liked being in Antarctica, which I don't think I've ever read a book in Antarctica before. This one was really good. We have an awesome relationship with Veronica and Patrick, and we get to watch their relationship grow. So overall, this book was really fun, exactly what I needed at the time. And I mean, who doesn't love a book about penguins? So if you think that this is something that you might be interested in, I would definitely recommend picking it up when it comes out. Like I said, today, the day that you're watching this, I'll end up giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I picked up, I was sent by Libro FM, and that was The Honest Enneagram by Sarah Jane Case. Now, Sarah Jane Case owns the Instagram account Enneagram and Coffee, and this book is essentially breaking down the Enneagram, giving a little bit of an insight into the different types and some of the ways that you can use your type to kind of better yourself. Now, I have been a fan of Sarah Jane Case for a long time, and I was going to pick this novel up anyway, and then when Libro FM offered to send it to me, I was right on that train. I very, very much enjoyed this. I did listen to it through audio. I will say that was a good format to do it, but I do plan to buy a physical copy of this so that I can return to it. But the thing that I particularly liked about this book was that it wasn't just a breakdown of the different types of the Enneagram, but it was really practical about how to use the strengths and weaknesses of your type to your advantage and how to kind of pull them into the other aspects of your personality and just grow yourself as a person. So it's very much a self-help kind of take on the Enneagram. Now with the audiobook, it can get a little repetitive at times because in the individual breakdowns of each type, she does use a lot of the exact same verbiage to go into the different sections. So that can get a little repetitive, but that shouldn't be a problem if you're reading it in the physical format because you can just skim over that little intro section. But regardless, it didn't take away my enjoyment of it at all. And if you plan to just look at your own type or your own type and your wing, then this book is gonna be really fast for you. But I did listen all the way through to all 9 types, and it was really interesting to get a deeper look into the types that I don't identify with or I don't have family and friends that are those types. Because I don't know a ton about anything other than 9s and 1s. I am a 9 wing 1 on the Enneagram. So I don't know a ton about the other types, and it was really interesting to get a little different perspective. I would definitely say that this is like an intermediate level Enneagram understanding. So if you are absolutely brand new to the Enneagram, I would just wait on this one and put it on hold until you have a good idea of your number and you've done a little bit more research into the other types. But if you do kind of already know your type or you think you might be close to figuring it out, and if you're already familiar with the different aspects of the Enneagram like wings and subtypes and things like that, then this might be a good resource for you. But overall, this is definitely one that I would purchase and that I could see myself coming back to over and over, and I wound up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. Next book I completed was another ARC that I received through NetGalley. So again, thank you to NetGalley, the author and the publisher, for sending me a copy of This Is All Your Fault by Amina May Safi. This book actually comes out in October of this year, but I went ahead and read it because it was about to go into the archive on NetGalley, but it does come out on October 13th of this year. So this book is set over the course of one day, and we follow a group of teenagers that works at this indie bookstore. At the beginning of the novel, we find out that the bookstore is about to close, they're about to go under, and these kids get this idea to try to save this bookstore. Now, the positive aspects of this book, there is a lot of different representation in this book. We have different races, we have different genders, we have different sexualities, and in general, I did enjoy the characters. We get a lot of different personalities in this book, and we really get a deep look into how they interact, which I thought was really interesting. And the last strength I'll say about this book is that there are some really hard issues tackled. I don't want to say anything that might spoil it, but there are some pretty intense issues tackled in here, and I feel like they were handled really well. Now, the one thing that really bugged me about this book was the format of it all taking place in one day. I feel like that works for a lot of novels, but I didn't really like it here. But I feel like the one-day format just really drug the whole thing down, and it just felt like it took forever for us to get to anything that was actually happening. So that was my biggest qualm with this book. So while this one wasn't my favorite in particular, I did enjoy the writing style and the idea of it overall, so I can definitely see myself reading more from this author in the future, and I wound up giving this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I completed was Tyler Johnson Was Here by J. Coles. Now, I feel like the synopsis of this book actually gives a little bit too much away, and I felt so strongly about it because I didn't know some of the things that are in the synopsis. So all that I really want to say about this book is that it follows our main character, Marvin. And Marvin and his twin brother, Tyler, wind up going to this party one night, and there is a police raid and a shooting. And Marvin and Tyler wind up getting separated, and then the day after the party, Tyler is missing. So Marvin is going on this mission to try to find Tyler. Now, this book is really relevant to our times right now, I think. I would say there are a lot of trigger warnings and content warnings that are present. If you want to know more about them, leave a comment down below so that we can make sure we don't spoil anybody, but just know that it is relevant to some of the issues that we've been discussing in our world lately. This is one that, like I said, it was incredibly impactful to me, and I think that's partially because I did not know some of the things that the synopsis reveals. But this book was infuriating in the most important way. One of those books that you just read it and it just lights a fire in you. And I did not expect that going into this. I didn't know a ton about it going in, and I'm really glad that I didn't. I think it would be wrong to say that I enjoyed my time reading this because it's a really difficult story, but I am glad that I read it. I would definitely read it again, and I really appreciated what the author did. I feel like this book goes up there with like The Hate U Give and Dear Martin, but I don't think that this one is talked about quite as much, and this is one that I very, very much enjoyed. So if you are looking for an own voices, Black author narrated book, this is definitely one that I would recommend that you pick up. Just know that it is very serious and impactful. I wound up giving this one a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I completed was George by Alex Gino. Now, this is a middle grade story that follows our main character. George was born a boy, but George knows that she is actually Melissa, and she is really hesitant to tell other people about who she actually is. And I am going to refer to the character as George throughout the synopsis because that is the name that she uses for the majority of the novel. The majority of the story takes place whenever George's class announces that they are going to be performing Charlotte's Web, and George really, really wants the part of Charlotte, and she thinks that maybe if she shows everybody that she can play Charlotte, she can play a girl on stage, everybody will start to see that she is actually a girl. Now, I really, really appreciated this story, and I feel like it's something that we don't get nearly enough of in middle grade. This novel did a really nice job of explaining the concept of being transgender to a younger audience. It was very, very simple, very, very well done, and I just really, in general, appreciated how the story was handled. I also appreciated that George used female pronouns from the get-go. Sentence 1 in this book, George is referred to as she, her, which I really appreciated and just thought, again, it was really well done. This story is very, very short. The audiobook is only 3 hours long, so you can get through it super, super quickly. And if you are at all interested, I would highly recommend that you pick it up. I have read a couple of other books about transgender characters, but they have all been YA or adult. I've never read a middle grade about a transgender character, and I'm very glad that I picked this one up. This is definitely one that I would recommend, and if you are looking for a good and fast read for Pride Month, this is honestly the perfect one. I wound up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. And the last book that I have completed so far in the month of June is Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo, and this is the third and final book in the Grisha trilogy. Obviously, I can't say a ton about the plot of this because it is the third and final book of a trilogy, but we do follow our same characters and our same plot line that we've been building up to. Now, the one thing about this that was my biggest qualm with it was the pacing. I felt like the pacing was totally and completely off for this entire novel. We know what we're building to, we know the villain that we're trying to defeat, and a bunch of different things have to happen in this novel, but I feel like a lot of the actual plot of the novel was really off topic. We did not spend a lot of time actually trying to do the thing that needed to be done in the end, so it really felt like it dragged for the majority of the novel because we were doing things that didn't really matter. And then the big ending that we needed happened in like 2 chapters. So the pacing was just really, really off, and it really just threw the whole thing off for me. I will say that the ending was satisfying to me. I did appreciate where it went. I enjoyed getting to watch our characters all throughout. I've really enjoyed these characters in general throughout this trilogy, and I will definitely be picking up King of Scars, which follows Nikolai. So it was middle of the road. There were definite positives and negatives to this one. In general, I did enjoy this trilogy, and I'll definitely be reading more from Leigh Bardugo in the future, and I will be watching this series as it comes to Netflix. I'm very, very intrigued by that. But I do think that this book is my least favorite in the series, unfortunately. I still wound up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. That may end up changing to a 3.5 once I sit on it a little bit. I just finished it last night, but as of right now, that's kind of where we are. It was an okay conclusion. But that is it for all the books that I have completed so far in the month of June. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and let me know some books you have already finished this month. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to go down and give it a big thumbs up, as well as hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon down below so that you never miss out on any of my content. So until next time, bye!